Melalui program siaran ini, Indosat Ooredoo Hutchison akan memberdayakan perempuan Indonesia dengan program pendampingan untuk memecahkan masalah mereka menjadi solusi yang layak. Pendaftarannya sudah dibuka, teman-teman bisa langsung join, bisa langsung klik di https://shehacks.id, bisa gampang, bisa langsung daftar di situ, di website langsung. Lalu untuk syaratnya, yang pertama adalah yang pasti harus khusus wanita, warga negara Indonesia, individu atau tim maksimal 3 orang, dan nanti kalau yang mendaftar adalah tim, berarti yang mendaftar adalah ketua timnya. Saya juga ingin berterima kasih kepada partner kami yang sudah mensupport program SheHacks ini. Terima kasih untuk strategic partner, Kumpul, Kemenkraf Republik Indonesia, Asian Indonesia, IDE, UN Women. Lalu saya juga ingin berterima kasih kepada community partner, Kreologi, Sidina Community, Memimtalk, Eureka Women, Girls in Tech, Wiwau, Petang, Never Okay Project, Mom Academy, Mestara Indonesia, Isaac in IPB, Mami Cerdas, Sister Indonesia, Smash Hub, Perempuan Muda Karya, Lab Belajar, Bincang Perempuan, dan juga BEM IPMI. Oke, sebelum kita mulai webinar hari ini, saya pengen banget nyapa teman-teman yang ada di rumah. Halo, selamat siang. Boleh komen di kolom komen YouTube asal dari mana supaya kita bisa lebih tahu teman-teman dari kota mana aja nih yang nonton. Dan jangan malu-malu juga teman-teman untuk menyediakan catatan kecil, nanti bisa langsung ditanyakan kalau punya kesempatan, bisa bertanya kepada expert kita yang di hari ini. Jadi bisa menambah wawasan lagi. Oke, biar nggak terlalu lama, kita langsung aja mendengarkan keynote dengan topik How Diversity Improve Your Startup. Kepada Ibu Mia Oenoto, dipersilahkan. Halo Mbak Ibu Mia, halo siang. Teman-teman semuanya, saya sudah bersama dengan Ibu Mia di sini. Ibu Mia ini adalah associate dari ESG Advisory KPMG Indonesia ya Ibu Mia ya. Mungkin bisa langsung ke Ibu Mia biar teman-teman di rumah juga sepertinya sudah nggak sabar. Silakan Ibu Mia.
Halo semua, thank you Tami and SheHacks sudah invite aku sebagai moderator di sini. Halo semua yang lagi nonton, anggap aja nih kayak santai makan siang sambil atau ngopi-ngopi, jadi santai aja. Perkenalkan, nama aku Maria Oenoto, kalian bisa panggil aku Mia. Aku currently working as a senior associate di tim ESG Advisory KPMG Indonesia. Aku mau cerita dikit tentang why am I here as a moderator dan why am I really passionate about diversity, equality, and inclusion, atau kalau di company biasa disingkat DE&I. So basically a bit of background. I last time aku bisa mengambil master degree aku karena I also got a scholarship called Women in STEM dari British Council, and also from there on karena aku juga used to work like a real technical engineer, and di saat itu rasio antara female and male engineers itu sangat besar gapnya, dan dari situ aku ingin lebih memperdayakan wanita terutama dalam their literacy and their knowledge in terms of STEM, giving them more chances and mentorship if I can. And in terms of where I'm working currently, KPMG Indonesia and also KPMG globally, we actually have our 2030 target in terms of diversity, equality, and inclusion. So we are committed to creating an inclusive environment where all colleagues strive and reach their full potential, whatever their identity or background gitu. Jadi kita udah set like a long-term and ambitious goal for 2030. There's also a program globally called A Fairer Future for All. So basically, this includes our focus on leadership accountability, investing in our recruitment, talent progression, and training, and ensuring diverse pitch and client teams when allocating work. Salah satu contohnya adalah program 40-40-20 kita, jadi itu suatu ratio di mana we have to have a minimum of 40% female colleagues and 40% male colleagues in the relevant population. 20% sisanya is flexible, and because we kind of recognizes the moving nature of our firm, while setting parameters for us to meet and stay within juga. All in all, kalau di KPMG Indonesia sendiri, personally I see we are really focusing mainly on gender equality first, and then stepping up progressively to diversity and of course inclusion. But then besides me di sini sebenarnya not all about me, mainly adalah tentang our main speaker. He's a very incredible and passionate man in terms of diversity, inclusion, disability, and of course gender equality. So without further ado, mungkin bisa kita langsung panggil sekarang Mas Krishna Worotikan dari CFO dari Microsoft Indonesia.
Halo,
Mas Krishna,
selamat
apa kabar?
siang. I'm good. Selamat siang Mia. Selamat siang semua teman-teman yang nonton juga dari rumah nih. Apa kabar semuanya?
Mungkin Mas Krishna bisa memperkenalkan diri terlebih dahulu.
Sure. Jadi saya Krishna. My day job, I always say, is the Chief Financial Officer untuk Microsoft di Indonesia. But what really generates more energy for me is my other hat, which is the Diversity and Inclusion Lead in Indonesia. And we really talk about two big pillars in Microsoft and in Indonesia specifically. So we have Women at Microsoft, which basically looks at a lot of things, but we focus on increasing the female participation in digital world in general. And we also have the disability pillar, right, where we try to increase also the participation in the workforce for people with disabilities.
Thank you Mas Krishna untuk perkenalan dirinya, luar biasa sekali. Mungkin without further ado kita coba warm up dulu nih with a few questions. Aku mikir we could start from knowing a bit more dari apa yang Mas Krishna udah bilang juga dan yang sekarang diimplementkan di Microsoft Indonesia. So firstly, pertanyaan aku, bagaimana sih kondisi dan aplikasi diversity di Microsoft Indonesia?
Sure. I think we're lucky enough to be part of a larger ecosystem in Microsoft, where our main mission as a company is to empower every person and every organization on this planet to do more. It sounds lofty, but I think that's where basically, what we do really starts from. And the key word there is every person, right? So regardless of gender, regardless of any sort of physical disability, race, religion, what you have, right? And that's really where we want to be. But unfortunately, at this point, we know that there are certain groups which needs a little bit more encouragement. And, while we try to fix sort of the existing stigma that exists, and that's really where women and disability groups, become two big pillars that we are trying to help and be better at.
Thank you Mas Krishna atas jawabannya, luar biasa banget nih. Tapi aku juga personally penasaran gitu ya, karena in my personal experiences, memang I would say it's still a bit difficult untuk try to make yourself present as, for example, kalau dari point of view aku as a woman, when there's a lot of men in the rooms, and then especially kalau udah nyampe ke project-project major gitu, kadang aku agak berasa seperti itu from my own experience. So my next question is, what are actually the some common challenges or barriers that maybe Microsoft Indonesia, or from your other experience, not within the capacity of Microsoft Indonesia, have faced when it comes to achieving diversity and gender equality? And after you mentioned the challenges, what do you think, or how do you think we could address them?
Sure. I think in general, and maybe even more so in Indonesia, it's where I mentioned about the stigma, right? Right before we even learn about other things, we get taught things like ibu pergi ke pasar, bapak pergi ke kantor, right? I mean, that's like really one of the first things that they teach us. Why can't it be ibu pergi ke kantor, bapak di rumah memasak, if that's what he's better at, right? And ibu can actually make more money than the bapak, right? And that's where some of the basic things kind of stick with us throughout, right? And so, when you mentioned you got a scholarship in STEM, right? I'm sure that the proportion of people in schools that are learning science, technology, engineering, and maths who are females are proportionately lower than the males, although probably it has gotten better throughout the year. So that's where I still get questions like, why do you do diversity and inclusion? It's usually female. I think all these questions, I unfortunately still need to answer, but I want to live in that world where it doesn't matter which gender you are, you can do whatever you want.
Yep. Totally agree, Mas Crystal. Luar biasa banget ya. Aku lumayan apa ya, tadi agak blush sama kayak lumayan lucu dan senang juga mendengar kayak tadi kenapa nggak bapak yang memasak di rumah dan ibu yang bekerja gitu ya. Itu lumayan new perspective, I would say. I rarely heard something things like that. Tapi then again, berarti kan there's a lot of positive things gitu when we embrace diversity, equality, and inclusion. So the next question is, apa sih dampak yang didapat oleh perusahaan dari diversity gitu ketika mereka embrace DE&I?
Okay, I'll probably take that in a few layers. Like I think in general, I remember that there is this World Bank survey, right, that really talks about how much of the world's GDP can grow if we increase the female participation in the workforce, right? Because in countries like Indonesia, unfortunately, the child rearing activities falls mainly into the mothers, right? And so some people probably feel that urge to maybe stop working or reduce their activities outside the house just because they are supposed to, quote unquote, take care of the children or even some of the elderlies, right? And in the Western world, or more, I guess, more advanced economies, that kind of responsibilities can be outsourced, and it can actually be translated into monetary value, such that if you do actually choose to stay at home, the government will pay you to do that, right? Because there is that opportunity cost, right? You can always outsource that, hire a nanny or whatever, and you need to pay money, right, for somebody else to look after your children. So if you decide to raise your children, then you should get something out of it, right? So I think overall, the world's GDP, the world's economy can grow up to 10%, right? If we just kind of try to increase the female participation at work. And then, the next layer that I want to go into is specific to startups, maybe because we're in SheHacks, right? I know there's a lot of
Yes.
focuses on startups that is founded and run by women. First things first is just the diversity of thinking. And I would like to probably also remind people that diversity is not just about gender, right? Diversity is all about also being inclusive for people with disabilities, people with different racial groups, people with different religions, right? And that in totality will hopefully create a diverse thinking, right? I think homogeneous thinking is one of the biggest threats, I think, in all sorts of organizations. And that's where you all have people from the same background, you think the same way, and that's not ideal, right? Because you would want to try to reach to everyone in the market, right? Of course, because you want to sell more. When you sell to more sort of parts of the society. Of course, you can grow your volume and so on and so forth. And so to be able to understand all or everyone in the market, then you need to have people that come from different backgrounds. My classic example is always, Mercedes-Benz. I think until a few years ago, their crash test results is unfortunately very high on women, right? And so why is that so? Is because most of the engineers that are working on the safety features of the cars are men, right? And then they just assume that as men, you would probably take the driver's seat, right? And you make the driver's seat like really safe, but then the passengers, unfortunately, luckily it's just a crash test, right? But the results are really bad, right? And that's just one thing to show that if your developers, if the people that develop your products and services do not come from diverse backgrounds, they do not think about everyone in the society, and hence they would just limit their potential market to probably certain groups, and they will alienate the other groups, and that's just not ideal. And that's just diversity thinking. And then, of course, when you have people with different backgrounds, I like to use this example. Personally, I also run a barbershop, kind of as my weekend activity, right? And then, most of my team members are Muslims, right? And so when it comes time to say Lebaran, right, they will all go home, pulang kampung, right? And then I will be forced to close shop because nobody can work, right? But I always wish, right, if I have people with different kind of religious backgrounds, then I can still open the shop and I still have people that are not celebrating their festivities to come and work. And so to me, as an entrepreneur, that would bring more results. So that's just one example that I like to use.
Thank you so much Mas Krishna untuk responnya. Kalau boleh aku agak merespon dikit dan aku relate dikit nih tentang masalah untuk kalau ada diversity, there are a lot of people with different race. Apalagi kalau di Indonesia kan kita sangat beragam ya. Literally diversity is like one of our branding gitu. Tiap kali aku keluar negeri pasti aku selalu bangga kayak aku Indonesian, terus mereka kayak bingung gitu kan. Kok Indonesian bentuknya begini gitu kan. Tapi and then again when I told them kita tuh utamanya ada 6 admitted religion gitu di Indonesia, terus mereka bingung gitu. Dan it's really emang ada impact-nya karena dari personal pengalaman aku sendiri, aku suka banget with my team karena we're really diverse juga, dan selalu kalau kita mau take leaves, kita selalu coordinate kan with each other. Tapi and then since kita ada diverse like religions, kayak aku non-muslim, terus ada yang muslim, jadi kita bisa coordinate dan office-nya nggak di left empty. And in the end juga it's actually jadi good karena the clients are not neglected gitu, dan it's a better management juga. So hopefully bagi para audience yang mendengarkan nih ada yang relate juga, dan ini bisa jadi suatu input untuk kalian. So kita mau langsung mulai nih, kayak kita udah mulai banyak pertanyaan luar biasa dari para audience. So the first question itu dari Mia Zahro. Pertanyaannya adalah, Pak Krishna, kalau di Microsoft Indonesia berapa kontribusi employee perempuan di sana dan bagaimana komposisi BOD-nya? Silahkan, Krishna.
Okay. Sure. So untuk sekarang, I think hampir sama ya, both non-board and board composition is very close to 40%. So I think I remember 37 point something gitu ya percent, and it's about the same both board and non-board. We do have a very intentional motion to ensure that we stick to that level, right? For example, when we do our people review, then we will actually evaluate, right? In the past year, for example, what was the average level, and then when actually when we call diverse talents leave, we will try to replace him or her with another diverse talent ya, supaya ratio-nya nggak turun gitu. So for example, if we have a very talented female engineer gitu yang keluar for whatever reason, then there will actually be an intentional prioritization untuk penggantinya juga female juga gitu supaya rasio itu nggak turun.
Okay. A really good really good initiative. Okay, well thank you untuk jawaban Mas Krisna untuk pertanyaan itu. Sekarang ada 2 lagi nih Mas yang ini luar biasa banget audiensnya ya. Aku senang banget nih mendengar
Ayo
banyak
lagi pertanyaannya.
pertanyaan challenging-nya. Okay, the next question ini anonymous, belum nggak kelihatan siapa yang nanya. Tapi the question is, bagaimana juga contoh untuk maintain diversity tersebut bagi ibu bekerja? Bisa dicontohkan di Microsoft Indonesia. Terima kasih. Silakan Mas.
Sure. I think one of the things that the pandemic brought, as a positive impact adalah kita lebih terbiasa untuk bekerja secara hybrid ya. And so I think for Microsoft globally and also in Indonesia, kita sekarang masih full hybrid, which means that there is no mandatory untuk datang ke kantor atau apa gitu. So everyone can work anywhere gitu ya. And that really helps. We got really great feedback from mothers, especially yang masih harus take care of their children, mesti ke sekolah, mesti apa gitu ya. So it's really udah biasa banget gitu ketika kita meeting and then everyone turns out the camera and then kayak belakangnya tuh kayak acara sekolahan gitu. And that's totally fine, right? Because we want the person to be in the meeting, to participate in the meeting. She can be wherever she wants, right? Really, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
So that's where the flexibility comes in. And even kalau misalnya ada kebutuhan yang mendadak, misalnya anak sakit atau apa, then we're very flexible. Yeah, I think the manager has all the discretion gitu ya untuk misalnya delegate the work to other team members, and then fortunately kita juga in general all our team members are very open gitu ya. Jadi kalau misalnya ada sesuatu yang harus di delegate karena ada emergency, itu selalu other people ready to step in. And so it takes the village basically, right? So it's just not us sort of ensuring and enforcing the policy, tapi juga we need to equip the employees with the right technology that enables them to work from anywhere. And then we need everyone basically to have that sort of empathy, basically, right, to take care of each other. So everything needs to fall in for this to happen.
Satu yang aku memang lihat menjadi kunci juga bagaimana ini bisa diterapkan, let's say di sini konteksnya kan Indonesia ya. Itu tadi sih yang Mas Krishna bilang empathy gitu. Empathy amongst the employees juga gitu. Karena sebenarnya menurut aku kalau dari perspektif aku selama pekerjaannya on time, good quality, semua bisa di-deliver, and at some point ketika kita juga mau take leave pun kan harusnya ada sistem bisa delegation gitu and help from other employees gitu. So I really think that's also an important point bagi founders ataupun yang sekarang employees untuk bisa kita camkan gitu, kayak kita tahu kalau sebenarnya it's also important thing gitu, even though some people sometimes think like apa sih maksudnya empathy among employees dan why is it matter, kayak sebenarnya itu matter karena it helps, let's say like mothers yang working mothers semacam itu. Dan even though untuk sekarang aku lihat udah mulai banyak inisiatif di mana husband pun atau ayah yang mungkin bekerja dari rumah atau bahkan tidak bekerja sama sekali karena memang mau fully taking care of their home tuh sebenarnya juga udah mulai trending sih, itu menariknya. So there's this next question tapi kayak udah relate dan agak bisa dijawab, tapi kalau Mas semua ada tambahan boleh. So the next question tuh mirip dengan yang sebelumnya, bisa tidak kalau married women and have kids can work from home, not full time working from the office gitu. Is it mungkin terjadi dan diterapkan di perusahaan-perusahaan?
Oke, mungkin dan mungkin tadi ada beberapa poin juga yang sudah menjawab sebagian juga dari sini, tapi mungkin yang ingin saya tambahkan lagi bahwa one of the key ingredients kenapa saya berpikir di Microsoft it actually works adalah because as a company, Microsoft runs on trust, right? And that's not an easy thing to achieve, right? Because trust
Yeah.
is earned, right?
Yes.
You don't sort of just give it away, and then you do expect it to kind of come back, from other people as well. So what that means adalah, again, right, as I said, our employees are free to work wherever they want to, right? But with that, of course, there is a very big assumption that they will finish everything that they need to do on time. I mean, that's just, a given, right? People don't
Yeah.
even have to think gitu ya, gimana nih gitu. We don't care basically, right? As long as you get it done on time. And that's where there is also a burden or a responsibility on the team members or the employees to make sure that the trust is not broken, right? So because once you show a behavior that makes people doubt your ability to deliver results while working fully hybrid, then that's where the whole cycle just breaks down.
Yeah, that's true. Yep. Mungkin kita langsung move on ke next question nih, karena biar para audiensnya semakin aktif. So the next question ini, Mas Krishna, implementasi D&I, diversity and inclusivity, di big company mungkin dapat didukung dengan resources yang tersedia juga. How about startups? With the limited resources, apa sih the initial step yang bisa dimulai dulu? Dan implementasi D&I ini sebenarnya akan berdampak apa sih ke bisnis si startups ini?
Sure. Wah, ini banyak layers ya di sini. Mungkin yang pertama dulu ya, maksudnya in terms of resources, I don't see any disadvantage. Kalau memang maksudnya seperti itu pertanyaannya ya. I actually think bahwa startups have a greater potential to start things right gitu, karena nggak ada nggak ada burden dari yang lalu-lalu gitu ya, because you all start fresh from scratch gitu ya, new company. Jadi right from the start, try to make sure that all your policies, especially hiring HR policies, itu creates a diverse and inclusive environment gitu ya. As easy as whenever you have any openings gitu, mau hire for any type of position, let it be open to everyone gitu ya kan. Sekarang kan I don't know, I think I still see too many of those job openings gitu ya. One of the first lines adalah syarat pria, syarat wanita gitu ya. I think that's the first thing actually, right? You have the umur mungkin like 18 to 35, that's already ageist, right? And then you have the gender, so it's very limiting gitu kan. How beautiful it would be if you just focus on the potential, on the capabilities of the person gitu ya. Unless of course you're hiring for a job that is literally only be able to be done by a certain gender gitu ya, then that's a different thing gitu ya. Tapi if it's possible to be done by any gender, let's not try to limit that. And then as you go on, of course your policies also need to cater for that. So for example, maternity leave policy, paternity leave policy, as simple as mikirin kayak ini di kantor kira-kira nih kalau ada ibu yang menyusui nih di mana nih tempatnya gitu kan. Mungkin it's not a fancy ruang menyusui with I don't know TV, aircon atau apa, tapi just the thought of mikirin gitu ya, kalau sampai ada case seperti itu di mana ya gitu. I think just the thought it counts a lot.
Seperti juga kayak menstrual leave gitu ya, yang ternyata belum common here, which is aku a bit surprised juga. Mungkin tadi get back to the previous layered questions. Jadi dia mungkin sih ada concern-nya adalah how about startups karena dia merasa with limited resource, dia meminta saran apa sih the initial step yang bisa dimulai dulu gitu dan sebenarnya mungkin kalau setelah memulai ini apakah ada dampak either positive or negative ke bisnis startups?
I mean, I really don't see a lot of challenges ya. Maksudnya when you start hiring people, then be very intentional gitu ya untuk try to think about everyone, be open to hiring anyone. Mungkin nggak usah startups ya. I think apa namanya, a few years ago I had some experience. It does still happen gitu ya. If gitu ya. And then you screen the candidates and then you invite them for interviews, right? If a particular candidate shows up in your office, then dia actually apa namanya, I don't know, looks like, and I don't know, again, people should not assume, but looks like in your mind, you think like, oh, I think she's like 8 months pregnant, right? I think there will be still thoughts about kayak, oh shoot, ntar abis ini dia cuti hamil, and then I will be having no one, terus kayak gimana. But you don't know the potential of that person, right? You're stuck on the appearance, you're stuck on the gender, you're stuck on blah 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 gitu kan yang kayak, and then you don't even get to ask the person like, are you the most capable person to do this job for?
Yes, exactly. Okay, thank you Mas Geza untuk jawabannya. Semoga itu menjawab untuk tadi yang nanya layered questions. Okay, so there's moving on to the next questions. Ini dari Maria Amurtiati. Actually, she's my mom. But then because she's from a different kind of generation, jadi I bet zaman dia sama zaman aku udah agak beda gitu ya, karena emang I feel baru aja kemarin aku ngomongin juga sama my people team kayak sekarang orang mulai open, people are more critical, literally people are more critical these days, terutama mungkin people my age ya, kayak kemarin ada juga temanku bilang I just want to work for a company di mana mereka ada specially program DEI gitu, diversity, equality, inclusivity. So the questions from her, apakah ada kelebihan yang hanya dimiliki karyawan wanita yang memang diperlukan dalam struktur organisasi? Mungkin Mas Krishna bisa memberikan contoh dari Microsoft Indonesia dulu misalkan, atau dari pengalaman Mas Krishna lainnya.
Sure. I think without stereotyping, right? I think it is even scientifically proven, right, that the way the female and the male brains work is a little bit different, right? So you have books like men are from Mars, women are from Venus, right? And I do see it happening. I think with millions of years of human evolution, I think females tend to, and I'm choosing my words really, really carefully right now, women tends to be more motherly and hence caring. They think more about people's well-being and all that, and that actually translates into good things in the organization ya. Jadi mereka akan lebih mikirin tuh gitu, misalnya when things are tough, right? And then we decide to do cost cutting, for example. Of course, we will try to stay away from people as much as possible. Tapi kadang-kadang kan juga, we can't help it, right? And then we have to sort of, evaluate our organizations. And I do feel that there is more empathy. There is more questions coming from the female leaders. It's like, can we try not to do that? Or they will think about a lot of other things yang mungkin orang nggak kepikiran gitu ya. And that just adds to the richness of the conversation to me.
True. Thank you, semoga menjawab untuk my mom dan hopefully help to escalate this to the management, maybe to do better gitu kan. Or I mean, there's always room for improvements. So next question, and probably looking at the time, mungkin maybe we can only accept one or two more questions from the audience. Jadi next question is from FKM Video Channels. Mungkin nih YouTuber kali ya. Is it possible for women to get higher position in a company such as Microsoft? Apakah bisa di-share contohnya?
Of course. I think that's a very easy answer. Yeah, there is no barriers whatsoever for anyone, regardless of the gender, to advance him or herself in the organization. Justru malah at this point, ketika kita masih mencoba intentionally untuk menaikkan our gender ratio, there is more focus justru untuk grooming the female talents to be leaders. So I think in a way, right now, there is a unfair advantage that females in technology have in companies such as Microsoft, bahwa kita justru lebih fokus, kita memberikan lebih banyak support, lebih banyak encouragement gitu ya, justru untuk bagaimana caranya supaya our female leadership ratio itu menaik gitu. Jadi there is no disadvantage at all. Justru at this point there is a more biased view, a more biased advantage yang bisa dipakai. Hopefully the female talents will make use of that to be able to advance. And again, it's really not the point of just for the sake of increasing the female ratio, bahwa we don't promote people by merit. So that's not the point, right? So we still the number one thought behind every promotion is always merit, gitu kan? Tapi the thinking behind that adalah gimana supaya at every level, at every position, ketika we try to promote people, selalu ada equal ratio dari gender in terms of the candidates. Gitu kan? So if for example a director resigns gitu, he or she, terus dia harus milih somebody from the team to replace him or her, then technically everyone's kind of eligible, right? The problem then comes if all the direct reports are men.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But even if if there is like one or two females, it doesn't mean that he or she will get an unfair advantage juga. So it's all by merits. But the main sort of principle adalah making sure bahwa at every level there is a right ratio, sehingga ketika ada waktunya promotion, then in the candidate pool there is a fair treatment.
Yeah, that's true, and really support that. Hopefully, we'll see more of that in like a range of companies di Indonesia. Aku sendiri sebenarnya aku penasaran sekarang, mungkin sedikit mengambil yang hopefully relate juga ke para founder startups or current startups dari sisi commercials gitu. So basically my question is, how does diversity impact the ability of startups to understand and cater to a broader range of customer needs? Can Mas Krishna provide any examples of startups that have effectively tapped into diverse markets through their products or services?
No, you're just putting me on the spot here, but I'm trying to remember like some webinars that I've been in. But I think it was another Kumpul event that I shared a panel with the founder of 𝐤𝐤𝐻𝐚, I think. 𝐤𝐤𝐻𝐚, right? It's the one with crafts and all, right? So they really I mean, of course, the founder is a female, and then even, I mean, the whole premise, right, is really to empower apa namanya, ibu-ibu UMKM yang buat craft gitu kan, and then dijual lah oleh perusahaan atau untuk startupnya si duanyam ini kan, and that's really probably apa namanya, tapping into a market yang nggak ada sebelumnya gitu, and you're really the pioneer in that segment, right? Probably no one else does it, or ya mungkin ada yang copy the idea after that, yeah, but that's where even apa namanya, if you think of an industry or a business that focuses just on women, then that is something yang mungkin apa namanya, male founders didn't think of that before.
Do you have like also like maybe experiences, like examples di mana ketika a company or a startups leverage diversity terus mereka gain competitive like edge gitu dibanding yang lain?
Edge. And you mean in terms of the apa namanya, the employees ratio atau apa?
Like either the ratio atau diversity dari berbagai jenis backgrounds gitu. Is there any like occasion di mana Mas Krishna merasakan atau melihat lah, menyaksikan kalau itu apparently give them a benefit gitu dalam dunia yang startups dan bisnis yang full of this competition?
Sure. Well, not that I can think of at the top of my mind, but you know, I wish that we don't have to justify. I think we still live in a world where we are trying very hard to rationalize why we need diversity, and that's sad. You know, because the premise of it is just so true. It's just so foundational, gitu ya. What kind of world do we want to live in if we still have to justify diversity?
That's true. Very deep message, everyone. Di sini. Mungkin and then from another perspective yang aku a bit curious juga. I mean, I've experienced di mana dan I mean I've also experienced and witnessed ketika teman-teman kerja tuh bisa ada yang siang-siang dia udah senior gitu. Actually this is in my company from what I heard from my friend. Jadi dia udah senior, super busy definitely, udah kayak director or senior manager. But then she could still maintain her work-life balance. Jadi dimana dia tiap siang itu jemput anaknya sekolah dulu, baru nanti balik lagi kerja. And then I think it becomes like a habit dan dia selalu berusaha make sure gitu kalau di apa namanya semua work colleagues-nya dan clients tuh respect these habits of her gitu. And the result is, yeah, of course she still stays in the company, she feels comfortable, she feels welcome. So actually it enhances her performance, and ternyata juga yang aku baru sadar tuh itu juga enhances her team performances gitu. So apparently nggak cuman, ya again, I don't wanna seems like justifying stuff, but apparently maybe it also enhances mental health of the
No,
company.
I think one thing, I mean, as a company, if you think about the startup as a company, the fact that if you are openly advocating diversity and inclusion, then you will be able to attract a more diverse talent, right? And we know that the potential of apa namanya, talents yang diverse gitu ya, just say apa namanya, females gitu ya, if you are biased gitu tadinya, apa namanya, you prefer or you pick more male candidates than female candidates, then you actually are denying your own organization the chance to tap into a better talent pool yang mungkin ada di female talent pool gitu. So just because you're so hung up on the gender, you're actually not getting the best talent. Right, so if that's what you want, then good luck.
True. So, kita udah di penghujung acara. We're at the end of our Q&A sessions. Maybe Mas Krishna kalau ada sepatah dua kata to close up all our discussion today, silahkan.
Sure. I think, to me, culture is the number one thing in every organization, and it has to be intentional, right? So with diversity and inclusion, it's also like that. I hope that one day we don't have to justify why diversity and inclusion is important. It's embedded in our DNA, in our organization cultures. But unfortunately, right now, we have to still add that one checkbox in every task that we do, that, have we diversified our organization? Have we make sure that the policies are in place, that we are not cultivating apa namanya, a culture that is biased against certain genders, right? Even just a workplace where making sexist jokes apa
Yeah.
namanya, acceptable, right? That is something yang sadly gitu ya, we still laugh about, but that's really a big no. So just small
Yeah.
things like that, but intentional. And then, diversity and inclusion is a journey, so it doesn't matter how fast or how slow you take it, but make sure you're on the right journey. That's it.
Thank you so much, Mas Krishna, untuk segala insights, opinions, knowledge, everything that you just said. As a woman, in my personal view, with all of the experiences that I've had in the past, aku benar-benar sangat support dan wishing, hoping, and of course support to drive more diversity, equality, and inclusivity in my own capacity, dan wishing that all the other companies in Indonesia and now kalian para founder startups can start off gitu, seperti kata Mas Krishna tadi, because your startup actually you have the benefit to start off better than the older company, you might say. So in summary, closing, I just want to thank SheHacks. I want to thank Mas Krishna juga di sini, and also I want to thank each and every one of you for participating in this enlightening discussion about how diversity can improve startups. And remember that embracing diversity is not just a moral imperative, but I think it's a strategic advantage for startups. But not that we need to justify why we need diversity, but because by embracing it, I think we're living something that I like about diversity, equality, and inclusivity is actually all of those things are acts of being respectful and being human with like a good morale. And by fostering an inclusive environment, leveraging diverse perspectives, and promoting gender equality, I really believe that we can unlock innovation, fuel growth, and build a better future for the startup ecosystems. So thank you everyone, thank you every audience yang sudah memberikan pertanyaan yang sangat kritis ini. I'll give it back to Mbak Tami as our host. Thank you.
Terima kasih Bapak Krishna Worotikan yang telah menjawab semua pertanyaan sehingga kita semua mendapatkan insight yang sangat luar biasa. Terima kasih juga untuk Mbak Mia Oenoto yang telah bersedia memoderasi webinar hari ini. Thank you banget buat Bapak Krishna dan Ibu Mia. See you until next time. Dan terima kasih buat teman-teman semuanya yang masih stay sampai akhir acara. Sebelum acara seri tutup hari ini, saya ingin mengajak teman-teman untuk para perempuan, woman founder untuk bisa daftar SheHacks sekarang di shehacks.id. Pastinya program SheHacks ini gratis. Boleh langsung di-scan aja barcode-nya. Nah, teman-teman, aku mau mengingatkan juga nih, pada tanggal 22 Juni mendatang, kita akan lanjut webinarnya dengan topik yang gak kalah menarik hari ini, yaitu adalah Green Business, maksimalkan strategi untung anti buntung. Jadi, teman-teman harus ikut juga webinar minggu tanggal 22 Juni mendatang, karena bakal lebih seru pada hari ini. Saya juga ingin berterima kasih kepada partner yang sudah mensupport program SheHacks. Kepada strategic partner kami adalah Kumpul, Kemenkraf Republik Indonesia, Asia Indonesia, IDE, UN Women, dan juga kepada community partner, Kreologi, Sidina Community, Mamim Talk, Eureka Women, Text, WeWow, Petang, Never Okay Project, Mom Academy, Mestara Indonesia, Isaac Indonesia, Papi Cerdas, CR Star Indonesia, Smash Hub, Perempuan Muda Karya, Lab Belajar, Bincang Perempuan, dan BEM IPNI. Jangan lupa follow Instagram Kumpul ID dan shehacks ID untuk mendapatkan update tentang shehacks 2023. Saya Tami, pamit undur diri.